in the African continent. Of course, across Mali, Nigeria, and much of Sahel, the war on terror has become a mirror reflecting Africa's deepest dilemma. Foreign troops, intelligence alliances, and drone bases expand across the continent under the banner of counter-terrorism. Many Africans are asking whether these interventions strengthen security or quietly weaken sovereignty. The new wave of U.S. security plans for West Africa promises renewed partnerships and training programs, yet history warns that external involvement often comes with geopolitical strings, fueling mistrust and perpetuating Africa's reliance on outside powers. Meanwhile, the African Union, once envisioned as the continental bulwark of collective defense, appears increasingly sidelined. Its peacekeeping missions struggle with funding, coordination and lack of political will among member states. In Mali, foreign withdrawals have left power vacuums now filled by new actors, private military firms and regional alliances, each pursuing its own interests. In Nigeria, recurring attacks by Boko Haram and ISWAP expose deep institutional weaknesses and the limits of international support. The people most affected remain the civilians caught between insurgents, political instability, and foreign agendas. On today's program, our big question will be who will take responsibility for Africa's security future? Should African nations deepen cooperation through independent continental defense mechanism or continue collaborating with foreign partners who possess greater logistical capabilities? Stay with us. This is the Pan-African Debate. Hello once again and welcome to the Pan-African Debate. Who should lead Africa's fight against terrorism is a big question on today's program. We want to welcome those of you watching us from around Africa. If you're watching us online, you can leave your comments. We shall read them here on the program. And just to remind those of you equally watching, we shall give you a moment to equally send your reactions. We shall be able to receive your calls during the program. Welcome to today's program, the Pan-African Debate. Who should lead Africa's fight against terrorism is a big question on today's program, and we want to welcome panelists, experts, and security analysts who are joining us in the program today. We'll begin with you, Dr. David Matsanga. You're a political scientist and international relations expert. Doctor, it's a pleasure having you on the program this afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, my brother, for inviting me once again. I'm joining you live from Amsterdam on my way to The Hague on the same issue which I want to disclose to you today, but I am happy to be here to join and give my views on Pan-African views and especially on the against the hot debate of terrorism on African continent called Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matsanga. It's a pleasure always having you. We have equally Tulu Nimi Adeyefa. You are an international relations expert. Mr. Tulu, it's a pleasure having you on today's program. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be back here. And the issue being discussed today is one that affects almost every stakeholder on the African continent. Insecurity across the continent, terrorism in some areas of the continent, and we've seen the devastating impact of all this phenomenon over the last few years, the loss of lives, economic opportunities, even the blacklisting by some Western countries because there's terrorism in your country. So these are critical issues that need solution, and it's nice to speak about it, have conversations about it, and hopefully prefer solutions that improve the lot of people within the continent. Thank you once again for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Tulu. Just like you've highlighted, the impact is quite devastating, and everyone is very much affected, and an issue which needs discussion, and we're definitely finding a way out. Who should lead Africa's fight against insecurity, against terrorism? Dr. Babila, Julius Babila Taka, you're a political scientist and media consultant. Dr. Julius Babila, it's a pleasure having you. Welcome to today's program.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Lewis.
When we speak of terrorism in Mali, Nigeria, and across the Sahel, we are not simply discussing security threats. We are examining the deeper crisis of state legitimacy, governance capacity, and regional cohesion. My take here is that foreign interventions will come and go, but the problem will continue. So my stand today is that the fight against terrorism should be an African affair. Africa must lead the fight against terrorism with foreign partners in supporting role, not other way around. And there are a lot of things that African nations are supposed to do as far as governance issues are concerned in order to go first into the root causes of terrorism. If the root causes of terrorism are not taken care of, no matter what kind of intervention we put in place to fight terrorism, it will continue to be prevalent. So I want to welcome, and I'm looking forward for a very fruitful and thoughtful debate that may lead to a policy statement that could help our continent to move forward in a more strategic pathway that could lead to solutions, not just mere talking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Julius Babila Taka. Thanks for accepting our invitation. And those of you watching us, once again, this is the Pan-African debate. Let's begin with you, Dr. Matsanga. After years of foreign involvement in Mali and the Sahel, have this intervention by foreigners or made local enemies strong or armies stronger or more dependent? We're looking at the intervention in Mali. Let's begin with the aspect of Mali, and we're looking at the intervention of Mali. After several years of involvement in Mali by foreign intervention, now, has it made the Malian army stronger or more dependent?
First of all, I agree with my brother, the Taka. Institutions are the best, not interventions. Interventions come too late, do very little. Most of interventions from a country called France, double standards. They always come to whip, to evacuate their people. I have been in Mali the whole of last week, this week, sorry, almost two, on the West African states. I've traveled between Ghana and Mali. I was in Mali a few days ago, and one day or two ago. I want to say why, but I am a friend of the president and the president of Burkina Faso, Niger, the Mali, a great friend. I supported them, and I will continue to support them throughout against one imperial power called France. Look, why I agree with Taka in the onset. We might disagree later on. I'll agree with Taka on the onset that foreign interventions, France has intervened in this war for many years. And France has been doing it purely to collect uranium, gold, diamonds, and whatever you have in that area. It has not been intervening on behalf of Africans to liberate Mali, to liberate Burkina Faso, to liberate Niger, to take away the remnants of ISIS, Al-Qaeda that we see in that region. Therefore, I agree 100% with Tak that foreign interventions might not help. We need African solutions. But where are we in Africa? As you know, AU is dead. Mr. Taka, don't even try to go near AU, because there we shall have a battlefield. AU is dead. Dead. The word DEAD is dead. Finished. It's captured by the French. It is funded by the French. ECOWAS is funded by the French. ECOWAS is also paid by the French. We have only building in Abuja, where my young man there in the zebra crossing, Shatishan, is telling me, he might tell me we are doing very well. No, that is the only building. But the rest of the money comes from where? France. When France says go and invade Mali, now what we are seeing right now here, I have brought in a radical move, a radical shift. Nigeria remains one of the hotbeds of terrorism in West Africa. They saw this coming. They never helped for African countries to bring help for them. They avoided it. It grew big. It has grown big. Now they have become the suppliers of terrorism around the region. You notice that the Boko Haram and ISIS started in Borno State, up in Maiduguri, all those areas of northern Nigeria. And the Buhari and the other people sat down and watched. Tinubu has watched. Nigeria has a big army, but useless army. A useless army that turns to kill its own people instead of going to fight Boko Haram. I wish my Ugandan army had been in the sides of West Africa. We don't take chances. We don't have prisoners to carry home. We would have wiped out those Boko Haram menace like we have done to Al-Shabaab and isolated them in Somalia. So, my brother, in a nutshell, I agree with Tak at the beginning. We might disagree later on at the end. I agree that foreign intervention just come to milk our money. Foreign intervention, our minerals. Even if Trump, to some extent, is just coming to there is a deal. Everything in all these wars, there is a deal. If you have the deal, you can imagine that the president of a first world saying, you have diamonds, I'll give you arms. Excuse me? Do you have minerals? Congo. I'm speaking from a background of anything to do with international relations. And I understand my brother there, the younger man, studied international relations. Please, if you have a child, tell him to throw that paper away. There's nothing called international relations except international conspiracy and interests. So for me, I am telling you frankly, we have a problem here. Africa needs to sit down. And I'm very happy about my president. He's very straightforward. He's not accepting to this all at all. He's saying, why? Why now? Because why the Russians are there? It's because they are pushed out. They are pushed out the terrorists. They are pushed out the Al-Qaeda groups, the ISIS groups that are harassing Bamako. So, brother, those are my opening remarks.
All right. We got to clearly Dr. Matsanga. Let's hear from you, Mr. Tulu. What's your take on foreign intervention on the African soil in the fight against terrorism? We saw recent reports from Mali, which is accusing French media organs of propagating false information with regards to the current security situation in Mali, which they are reporting that the Malian capital is under siege from terrorist group. In general, what's your take on foreign military intervention on the African soil?
Thank you very much. So first thing, when foreign intervention comes to mind, the first thing I think about is what is the need for the party that is intervening? Because everyone has their own self-interest, everyone promotes his own interest. So if someone is leaving his house, come and help me in my house. Why is he helping me? That's the first question. What are the benefits to him? What are the costs to him? Definitely for him or her to come to my house to help me, there are some things that will benefit him from that arrangement. So that's typically my first instinct regarding foreign intervention. But then we can't exactly throw away foreign intervention 100%. When you want to fight terrorists, as the case may be today, or insecurity in any form, the government of African nations do not have the sophisticated weapons. They do not, some of them do not have the right level of intelligence to make this fight. So, of course, they would need the support or the help of foreign powers. So that's where it gets tricky for me. The individual or the country helping you, what is the need for them? We saw the intervention of the American government in Libya and what it has led to in Libya today. We've seen their intervention in Afghanistan, and even today the Taliban are still there. We've seen foreign interventions across the world and its resultant effects on the country at the end of the day. So foreign intervention does not necessarily lead to positive outcomes, and that's my first take. And I also agree with Dr. Julius Tucker that any intervention requires that the requires local institutions, the local government, the people to be at the forefront, because nobody can love your country better than you. Nobody can understand your country better than you. Nobody can understand your pain points better than you. So any sort of foreign intervention should be subservient to, what the local authority or local institution is trying to adopt in solving the problems. And while some people may argue that the reason this insecurity, the reason terrorism has stayed for this long within Nigeria, within Mali, is because of the inactive government, inefficient government that we have in power. And I agree 100%. And I think that needs to change. For Nigeria, using Nigeria as an example, when President Donald Trump indicated that there is Christian genocide which they want to tackle, and that's their basis for coming to Nigeria, of course, every Nigerian was apprehensive, because we know that foreign intervention may also cause some negative problems. But the fact of the case remains that if the Nigerian government had lived up to its promise, which is to protect law and order, protect lives and securities, develop economic policies that improve the standard of living, America would have no reason to want to intervene. Today, I don't see the American government saying they want to go and intervene in Singapore or South Korea or any of the countries doing well, like even India. I don't see them saying they want to intervene, because the government has been able to fulfill its mandate. So the root cause of all these things can still be traced to government failure. And until that is done, even foreign intervention will only cause more problems, because a state can't exist in isolation. You need a strong government to, manage policies and enforce rule of law, ensure security of lives and properties are protected. Until that is done, every foreign intervention is just an avenue to, lead Africa to a battlefield whereby resources and other things are just taken for the benefit of the foreign powers that are intervening. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tulu. Now, Dr. Taka, I just listened there to Mr. Tulu, and one of the aspects he's raised is the fact that African nations lack that logistical capacity or capability to be able to fight terrorism. And when we're talking equally about foreign intervention, it doesn't come without strings attached. Now, what's your perspective on foreign intervention on the African soil? I know you've already highlighted you're against foreign intervention, but then Africans lack the logistical capacity to fight terrorism.
Africa lacks that capacity to fight terrorism in terms of equipment and intelligence. So I have a proposed policy structure that we can push. We have our father here, who is a seasoned international expert, and he defined what is international relations in its real terms. In international relations, it's just about deals, and we should understand that if America is coming to Nigeria to come and fight terrorism, it is not because they love Nigerians. It is because Nigeria has started to develop now. And there is empirically, we can find evidence that America and their NATO friends always intervene in African nations that are about to succeed. We can now see, we saw what happened in Libya when President Barack Obama, or with the leader president, really was excited when he was elected president. He is the one who worked with his French counterpart, and they spur and create mayhem in Libya in the name of democracy, and destroyed a beautiful green country because they had an underlying motive. So, as a political scholar with the love of my continent, although I'm in the US, that doesn't mean that I'm going to tell my people the lies. This is the information super highway now. Our young people know the truth, and Africans should now know the truth, and we have to speak the truth. Nigerians should never allow America to intervene to solve the problems that they do have. The killing of Christians did not start now in Nigeria, and statistics don't lie. The Boko Haram is not Muslims. They are a terrorist organizations that attack both Christians and Muslims alike. If you look at the number of mosques that were attacked by the Muslims, like 74 and 80 churches were attacked. So thousands of Muslims died, thousands of Christians died. So I will really want that the European Union, which we don't like, should be reformed, or a new kind of structure created where we can be able to handle African issues in a way that we can be independent. If we continue to rely on foreign intervention because we don't have the weapons, why the weapons? Why should we use weapons to solve our family problems? I am an African, and my grandfather always told me, he was a king, that family problems is like a storm in a teacup that can be handled. If we can push and try to have common grounds in Africa, that as a family we can sit together to look at the root causes of the real problems of Africa, that there are some few thieves that have hijacked the government and they steal all the money and they allow the young people very poor. They are not present, they are absent, and they give now the vacuum for terrorist organizations to come and recruit. I have written extensively on corruption in the sub-Saharan Africa. And due to my sojourn in research, I came to realize that there is a relationship between corruption and terrorism. There is a relationship between corruption and civil unrest. There is a relationship between corruption and regime change. Let not take a long time to talk about this theory. Let me just show that this variable, when the thieves of the government, they steal all the money and the resources that are intended for the country, it leads to youth unemployment and extreme poverty. When a young man is so poor and does not even have food and basic needs, he becomes so vulnerable for recruitment into terrorist cells, because there is shelter, there is food, and there is coverage. They have somebody that looks after them. When a government abandons their youth, they don't care about them. When family members even abandon their sister children, that the sister died and the husband died and that young man has nobody to look for, but their uncles that work for the government and they don't care for that child now will be easily recruited. So now, because terrorist cells are also being funded by international communities, because the interest of the international community is to destabilize Africa, to keep Africa poor, to keep Africa dependent, so that they can reap and destroy our raw materials, so that they can keep us dependent on certain goods. I am thinking that it's because Dangote is about to build one of the world's biggest oil refinery. That is why Donald Trump is saying that they need to go and help the Christians. Is it now that they know there were Christians in Nigeria? They want to destabilize Nigeria and frustrate that petroleum project. So I call on Nigerians to be very vigilant and not to accept any help. We have problems in this country that can be solved. We have drug problems. We have insecurity in so many states. We have people dying here every 5 minutes. Let them solve their internal problem and allow Africa to solve their problem. I wish that they could allow us to reform and revamp the AU that will have teeth. AU does not have teeth at this time. Thank you very much. I rest my case.
Thank you, Dr. Taka, and we got to clear. Now, back to you, Dr. Matsanga. The big question is who funds these terrorist organizations, and when the U.S. talks about security cooperation, Dr. Matsanga, do you think it's really about helping Africa or about keeping a foothold on the continent? We're looking about the aspect of the U.S. recent talks about intervening in Nigeria and the rest.
Thank you very much. I want to guide my two younger brothers to come on focus. All of them are speaking without touching the real thing, the real mess. The real mess of West Africa is Nigeria. And my brother, Dr. Taka, don't run away from this. You are Nigerian yourself, and speak for yourself. Speak if you don't speak. I am not a Nigerian. I speak my mind about Nigeria. Nigeria, you are a political scientist yourself. Nigeria is a state without a state, a country without a country. If you don't rearrange it, you are dead. You are dead. You have talked rightly of institutions collapsing, corruption, abduction, kidnap, hostage taking, failure to agree to international court orders. I like Tulu, my brother, the other side, who said the institutions have collapsed. What makes institutions collapse? I agree with you, Taka, on the question of corruption linked to terrorism. Anywhere in the world, poor people are vulnerable to recruitment into terrorism because they have no other thing to do. But we must speak the truth. One of the biggest problems that has created the mess that we have in West African states, whether you talk about Southern Cameroon, where you are in Cameroon, whether you talk about Sahel region, across in Nigeria, across in Burkina Faso and Chad, all these problems have sprung from one nation called Nigeria. It is Nigeria that failed us. It is Nigeria that failed to contain the Boko Haram. When they struck, they came up, they picked up the girls, they kidnapped the people, they kill at will. Now, the brother talks about the things of Christians and moderate Muslims. I agree that there is something that he has missed a point. The killings have been traditional those days, but now the new killings are different from those that were there. These guys who move from all the way, the jihadists moving all the way from contracted by the main cell. The main cell being the Boko Haram itself. Splinter groups have moved south with guns in the plateau area, the belt, the middle belt. They come occupy your land. They come to your church, kill you. They come to this your home, your farm. They feed you. Taka, you are Nigerian yourself. I've been to that region, and I want to be very honest. 200, 300 Christians have been killed. We saw the burial of these Christians, and the government itself. The government said yes, there were killings. Who are this new group that is moving south towards areas where farming? Nigeria has got 20 million cattle. 20 million cattle. My brother Taka is very good at logistics and data. I don't discuss mathematics because that is my area is very bad. I failed mathematics, my brother. 20 million cattle. 20 million. India has got 300 million cattle. But you don't find people with that cattle coming to invade other people's farms, kill them, feed them meat, eat everything, kill even people, abduct people. Who are these new jihadists who are moving south from north, trying to kill the people in the south? Two, there's a point that Taka touched. Taka, please, let's be honest. We are all Africans. There is something wrong. Nigeria has a population of 250 million people. You have, brother, if you are Nigerian, you have failed us. On the continent of Africa, I'm sorry. Because we could be exporting our food to you. But instead, you go to buy generators. And you know, whenever you find a Nigerian businessman, he's buying generators to take home, to pollute the environment. The government there, why? The government does not even do any hydroelectric ecosystem dam. Nigeria has got 241 waterfalls. brother in the studio, listen to me. They have never constructed even one single dam that can produce hydroelectric, a friendly ecosystem electricity. Now, you fail us on many things, but we are not going to abandon you. All what we are calling is give. Nigeria's problem needs, a political solution. A political solution. There is no military solution. I agree that will solve. It needs a political solution. It needs President Tinubu to sit down and see where we have gone wrong. The Constitution. Can you allow people to live? If you are not, if the marriage is sour, why don't you allow them to go? Why don't you rearrange them and paste them together?
Yeah,
I am a Matsanga. Yes.
We look at the situation of Mali, where France was accused of sponsoring terrorist organizations, and you look at terrorism in Nigeria. Do you think there is equally a Western hand funding this terrorist organization in Nigeria?
I was coming to that. Let me leave Nigeria because I can see my brother not comfortable. But I am very comfortable. When I see that Tinubu, I am very frank man. And I hope this time is not going to Rwanda for the African Union Summit. I'll tell him off. This is not very good. It's not. Because I'm in his age. What is he going to do? He has children, I have children. My children have grown. You can bump me off if you want. Let me tell you frankly, look here. Mali is right to say France, after France was told to leave Mali, France went back and started funding terrorism against Mali. I was in Mali last week. And this week, I left a few days ago. I have had discussions with the president. I've had everything. I know what it is. You are not going to tell me what this man told me. And I'm the one going to spread the message. You wait in a few days. I'll spread the message. France went back and started funding the smaller groups. Remember the Libyan issue. My brother's in the studio. I'm the only person who followed Sarkozy, who followed how Sarkozy banked his money, stole Gaddafi's money. I gave the evidence to the chief prosecutor. You know that very well, my brother, the horse. And I nailed Sarkozy. Africans have forgotten about Libya. The problem of Mali springs all the way from southern Libya. France has got a section headed by General Khalifa Haftar, who has cut Libya into two parts. And this, my brother, is a good pathfinder. My friend, Dr. Tak, you're a good pathfinder. I want you to follow this. Who is this who supports the 30,000 or more troops that are in South Libya? Who supports them? France. It has that. And it picks that arms are supplied to the terrorists across in Mali. And from there, the terrorists come. They are able to besiege. When I was in the Bamako, these people were, everybody you could hear, 200 kilometers away. They are besieged, they are burning a truck, petrol truck. Now, France went back and told diplomatically, France, Algeria, we don't want the oil to go down. We must serve Mali in order to punish them for having told us to leave. It is France. It is true. And I am record, quote me. I have evidence. I have actually carried plenty of evidence from the government of Mali to expose how France is supporting terrorism in the region.
All right. I'll come back to you, Dr. Matsanga. Let me talk with Mr. Tulu. Yeah, Mr. Tulu, we just listened to Dr. Matsanga, who equally agrees that terrorism in Nigeria is funded from outside. We saw what happened in Mali. We saw the involvement, just like Dr. highlighted, the involvement of Western fundings in the terrorist activities in Mali. Now, what's the context within Nigeria? What's the raison d'etre? Like, what's behind this funding of terrorism activities in Nigeria? Who is behind it, and what do you think their interest or their purpose is?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. So that the answer to that question is not so simple or straightforward. It's multifaceted with different theories about who is funding what. When we look at Boko Haram, for instance, as a terrorist organization, the meaning of that is Western education is haram. So it's slightly rooted in some extremist form of Islamic ideology that Western education should be stopped at all costs. And when you look at the leaders of Boko Haram when it started in Nigeria, they were mostly Islamic extremists. So that would point you to the fact that some of these guys may be funded by Islamic extremist organizations, like that funded like of Al Qaeda, ISIS, and co. Also, there are those that will tell you that the funding of these terrorists could even be internal. When you look at the imposition of Sharia rule in northern Nigeria and its origin, and some extremists, rich politicians, economic stakeholders within that region, some would argue that they are the ones funding this terrorism just to impose their own ideology, which of course by most Muslims will be considered extremist. Moving on from that, there are other theories about the insecurity being funded for economic reasons, and that's borne by the fact that there are players, internal and external, who would benefit from insecurity. These terrorists have the best weapons, they have the latest weapons, they have the latest cars, technology. Then the first question that comes to mind is, how are they able to get these things? Some have argued that these things are from some foreign powers or influence who want to destabilize those regions and take over mineral resources in those regions. There are even speculations that in Zamfara, insecurity is caused by those powers that want to mine gold and export without ensuring that the residents do not benefit from it. And of course, there have been fingers pointed at the Chinese regarding that, but there is no concrete, there's no concrete evidence that it's just one party, one body that's really funding the terrorists. Although my own conclusion would be that it's a mixture of this approach. When I look at the farmer elders crisis that is ravaging middle belt of Nigeria, even extending towards southern Nigeria, I would say that some of this may be economic because cattle rearers need grass to feed on, while farmers, of course, are planting their crops. So some would argue that challenge is economic, and those funding the insecurity in that area are people who have something to gain from such situation. But I recall that when Donald Trump came into power, there were those that theorized that some of the funding for terrorism came from even USAID. That was never proven. But one thing is certain. There are some people benefiting from the current level of insecurity within Africa, within Nigeria, and they do not want to stop. Even when I look at the Nigerian structure today, there are those speculations that even some military officials do not want insecurity to go away because government has increasingly allocated a higher portion of the budget to the military to fight insurgency, and this has been diverted by some military officials, senior military officials, to their private pockets. So those individuals, those benefiting from such insecurity today, would definitely not want it to end, because when they get this money, they may use part of it to even fund insecurity, so that next year the government will even allocate more to them. So you can see that it's like a loop. Even though government needs to fund the military and security forces to end insecurity, if you have the wrong set of people in power, it would only lead to increasing insecurity across the whole country. So it's a tight situation. When I look at the insecurity in the southeastern Nigeria, for instance, there are arguments that it's been funded by, some external powers who are supportive of hip hop and the like. So you have the likes of Simon Ekpa in Finland, who they've been saying mobilize funding for this. So across Nigeria, my point is there's no one single answer or solution to there's no single accurate response to who is funding security. I think there are different things, different areas, and digging through the whole, funding structure. It's another challenge on its own. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Tula, I'm going to come back to you, and the question I'll be asking is, when the U.S. talks about its intention to intervene in what is happening in Nigeria currently, does it actually mean they have the interest, or do you think they are aligning with probably the bigger picture which we all know about? Now, let me talk with you, Dr. Taka. That question is going to be directed to you equally. You had equally highlighted during your intervention the aspect of the U.S. interest in wanting to intervene in what is happening in Nigeria. What do you think the U.S. stands to benefit in this intervention? We said that the U.S. does not love Nigerians more than Nigerians. What is the big picture behind this proposed intervention in Nigeria by the U.S.?
The global community, which US is the leader of that community, will always favor Africa that does not produce its raw materials. So at the level of business, for the international community, which US is part of them, when the crude oil is sold to foreign Western nations, and then they refine it and send it back to Africa, we buy them at a higher price. Can you imagine that petrol is cheaper in the US than in Cameroon? That one for sure, I can know about it. So, if Nigeria now, through Dangote oil refineries, start to produce refined oil, then there will be no crude oil left for the US. And therefore, US will have to go down into the ground and drill, which they don't want to drill their own oil. So they will be forced to drill their own. And then who will they sell to? Because they drill and refine, and they buy crude oil from us and refine and sell it back to us. So for me, at that economic analysis, I look at it as to economic stagnation. The international community might be interested in continuous instability in Africa, especially Nigeria, that is a very giant, big nation. And I agree with Dr. David that Nigeria has to do more better in order to solve those internal problems. But the solutions to solve
certainly, yeah. Well, it's like we're having connection issues getting Dr. Taka clearly. I don't know if the technician, is it established yet? Dr. Taka, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me too?
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Dr. Taka, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Let me just wrap it up. Mr. Adefa already said it all. That there are a lot of interest from mining, that's rare earth minerals, as we call it in the US. The peace and stability in Nigeria or in Africa will allow Africans to be able to use their rare earth minerals and convert them into finished goods, and therefore they will now be exporters of finished goods to the US. But an African country like Nigeria that will continue to be fragmented, insecurity and general problems will prevent the completion of the Dangote oil refinery and other refineries and other industries that could use their raw materials. So the US stands to benefit from the rare earth mineral that they always desire. I raise my case.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Tucker. Now, Dr. Matsanga, what's your take on the aspect of mineral curse? And we look at the Western, involvement in Africa. Now, let's begin first. Let me begin with the aspect of mineral curse. What's your take on that? Because when we look at most of these countries that are rich in mineral resources, we find them in crisis. Now, is it the case here with what we're seeing with terrorism in most of African countries?
Exactly. The part of the underlying disease is our plenty minerals. It has become a curse. I agree with you. I agree 100% with except one thing, like the gentleman from Abuja, Mr. Tulu. Let me tell you, Norway and Finland are the new agents of neocolonialism on African continent. Finland is looking for Nigeria's minerals. Yes, and that's why you see Finland going to pick on men who have run away from Nigeria, harass them to please the Nigerian government. So my brother, the man from Abuja, Simon Epa, is a product of stupid foreign policy of Finland. And I've told them off. I'm an international law expert. I do international law. Is a product. The case, in the case of funding terrorism can be proved if you have imagery. There's no image. There's no transfer. There's nothing there. These people, you see, you have a man from Abuja. Listen, this government of yours abducts people from even foreign countries. They have abducted Nnamdi Kanu from a country in Africa. Tonight they came abducted him. Court orders have been issued. They had wanted to abduct Simon Epa from Finland to take him down to Abuja cells. And as people, as international watchers like me, we stopped. We are not going to accept abduction of that nature. Nigeria breeds everything that smells bad. And you know what? I don't want to centralize there. Let me come to your question. I'm really bitter when it comes to this state, which abducts people from foreign countries, takes them at night, court orders are issued, you don't respect them. Then you come here, you tell me you are very nice Nigerian, you tell me you are good in a good country. Which country is this? That does not even accept court orders. At least my country, Uganda, accepts court orders. We are finding, we have problems of a few democratic things not working, but we respect court orders. So there is no Nigeria there. Let's come to the mineral curse. Mineral curse is the problem. Look at the pipeline. Taka. Look at the pipeline they want to build all the way through Niger, all the way through Mauritania, all the way through Mediterranean Sea. To where? Which country is going to receive the first pumped oil and the gas from Nigeria? France. Have you seen that? One of the problems of Sahara region that causes insecurity is that pipeline. Because the generals in Niger said, you will not pass here. You will not pass here. Because it is taking fuel from where? It is taking fuel from southeast, from the Biafran land, or the former southeast of Nigeria, which is very recruitable with oil. One of the problems why these people are not being listened to, Julius, speak up as a man with the truth, is because of the oil interest, the cost of the minerals. The West does not want to tell these people, have your freedom. The Nigerian government relies on the oil exports of which comes from the southeast. God has arranged us in that way. That big pipeline, have you seen the big pipeline? I think it is 1 mile wide, going through the Saharan region, crossing. This stupid country in Europe called France is the main problem of our problems in Africa. 3/4 of the French territory, including where my host is, speak bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. It is in chaos. You tell me the truth. What are you talking here? The oil in southeast does not benefit the people of southeast. The roads are poor, like a volcano creator in southeast. Tinubu wants to take this oil to France. Can you tell me why Mr. Tinubu is more friendly to Macron than he is friendly to Starmer or Britain? Can you tell me? Can you tell me why Mr. Tinubu, who is not a French mercenary or a French speaker, goes to Paris for treatment and not London? Because this gentleman speaking here has put a caveat in London. If he ever steps there, he has violated order. He will be like a Pinochet. Remember the story of Pinochet? I put it in the court, and the courts are waiting for him. So he can't come to London for treatment. He goes to Paris. That's why you see in Mali, the Mali president and other people of the Sahel region are aware of the problems of Mr. Tinubu. They know, even when Mr. Tinubu is sending his Minister of Defense, they know. Those are young, very intelligent people. They are aware. So don't mix up. It is all the cost of oil, the cost of resources, the cost of minerals. As I wrap up on this one, look at what Mr. Trump, let me make this point on DRC Congo, because we are talking about Africa. Was it the best way to solve the problem of DRC Congo by President Trump saying, give me the minerals, I'll give you the Marines to guard you? Was it? Instead of following dialogue in Qatar and other places, why has this happened? Why has this happened? It is because there is a problem. And that problem we have is this. The French have convinced the Americans that we can't go in directly in Mali. Try to go in for us. Ask Nigeria. Remember how Libya was killed? Brother Zuma and other leaders, Sarkozy, lied. I wrote to Gaddafi, I went to Libya, pleaded with Gaddafi, don't deal with Sarkozy. He killed him. He killed him. And that's why I'm able to follow Sarkozy. And I put him in jail. I put Sarkozy in jail. Brother, you know that. I am happy. I gave evidence to this court that put Sarkozy in jail. So, resources in submission, AES, and in African states, especially Nigeria, which has a lot of resources, but has not utilized them properly. There are more Nigeria lacks food, people begging for rice, people begging for rice in Nigeria, surely. People having power shedding in Nigeria, surely. Why should this happen? I agree. Time has come, Taka, stand up as an academic, a scholar, speak for the people who need to come and remove such tendencies where corruption breeds terrorism. I raise my case here.
Thank you, Dr. Matsanga. We got you clearly very much. And Mr. Tulu, many believe that the West prefers that Africa should be in chaos because in the midst of chaos, it benefits them. And the U.S., which I was going to ask you earlier, the U.S. intention to intervene in what is happening in Nigeria, we'll look at their interest in wanting to intervene in what is happening in Nigeria, and we look at history, just like Dr. Matsanga and Dr. Taka highlighted, the aspect of their outcome in Libya, in Syria, in Afghanistan has not been very much pleasing. And we'll look at the U.S. wanting to intervene in what is happening in Nigeria. what do you think could possibly be the outcome, and what do you think the US stands to benefit from this military intervention, if at all it finally happens?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, your first statement was that, of course, Western powers try to intervene within the African continent for their own benefit, and it never ends well. Well, from empirical evidence, I agree with you. But one thing I also want to focus on is the weak institutions within the African continent, and that is the main problem that has enabled the current levels of, threats, threats to sovereignty, threats of military intervention that we are seeing within the African continent. Over the last few weeks, I've asked myself why they do not threaten the Asian continent that way. Countries like India, Japan, South Korea, and the likes are never threatened about military intervention. And that's because internally they've developed themselves. Yeah, no country is far able to manage their affairs, and there's evidence that the government is self-sustaining. You look at the African continent today, I see a lot of conferences every year. Africa-France conference, Africa-China conference, Africa-US conference, Africa-Sweden conference. As a whole continent, we keep going from Western country to Western country to beg for support in one form or the other. So there's even that lack of respect for African government, African leaders, because they're like beggars. And you pays the piper, they take the tone. And now, when we look at the threat of US government intervening within the Nigerian country, it's generated diverse opinion and interest by different groups. Yes, for individuals that are currently under insecurity within the Middle East, especially there's an echo. Especially maybe some religious leaders, Christian religious leaders, because they've seen a lot of their members killed, they see their colleagues killed. Those ones are embracing military intervention. If the Nigerian government does not protect them from terrorism, from insecurity, maybe the US government would. While historical trend and evidence may not 100% support that, because if there's military intervention anywhere, the military men do not know who is Christian, who is Muslim, who is a terrorist, who is not. They may end up causing more collateral damage than we already have. But the fact still remains that the problem today and its root cause can be traced to the Nigerian government's weak influence in stopping insecurity, in promoting one another, in promoting standards of living and fundamental human rights. And when we look about what the American government would have to gain in this, over the last few months of the Trump administration, we've seen some policies that are aimed at, stopping immigration or even moving deportees to some countries on the African continent. While Nigeria has resisted thus far, Ghana accepted US deportees. They had an agreement to accept US. I think I saw that on the news last month or 2 months ago. The Nigerian government has stood against that thus far. So in some quarters, there are speculations that because the Nigerian government is against the Trump administration's, approach to dumping deportees within Nigeria, that may be an external reason why they want to come on why they want to invade Nigeria, as the case may be. But the truth remains, we have given them a reason to, because of the say if you as a member of the household do not open your back door and intrude that a thief cannot come into your house. I don't know if you get the analogy. If we are doing what is right, if we are, protecting ourselves, if we are enforcing security within the Nigerian space, we don't have these problems. Also, I can see that Dr. Julius Tucker spoke about the Dangote refinery as being one of the reasons why the US government may want to intervene. While you have seen that, I don't think that's enough reason why they want coming. I mean, I asked myself why they did block the refinery during construction. The refinery was under construction for almost 10 years. when there was cost overrun, there were problems on the project. I feel the US government, if they wanted to stop it, would have been, more methodological in this approach. They won't wait till, we are refining oil, we're empowering ourselves to do that. So I think the issue is way more than that. I think it's a matter of foreign policy and interest, like I mentioned, in terms of getting deportees to come and live in Nigeria, which would be dangerous for us. In my opinion, from my perspective, I support the Tinubu's government stance on rejecting US deportees on the Nigerian soil, 100%. But moving away from that, they need to ensure that they address insecurity. And I must confess to you, the government has not done enough. I recall that there was a challenge in Benue State about months back, more like genocide, massacre, where people were killed. And the president came and just reduced it to farmer elders crisis, and that was it. But it's way deeper than that. There are people that want to grab land. There are people that want the resources of that place. So you can't just you can't just overlook the issue. And the Nigerian government has really been silent. When they report massacres in areas within Nigeria, say, okay, there were killings in this area, the government does not even address it. The government does not even respond to it. They are adopting the approach of out of sight is out of mind. Well, don't talk about it. That would not stop the insecurity. And until they do something about it, we'll keep getting, this sort of foreign aggression trying to intervene within the Nigerian space. Thank you. And Comrade Lewis, you are muted.
Are we the only one not hearing him?
It's possible. We can't hear him at all.
You can hear him, sir?
No, I can't.
Doctor,
No, I can't hear him.
is this... No.
You can't hear him.
Well, maybe he's gone. He needs... He doesn't know that we have... The program is too hot and they have disconnected him. I am telling you, these African leaders some of them don't want to listen to what we are talking. You know that Tolu, what you are saying is correct. When people were killed in the Benue State, the president of Nigeria just casually did not bother, And people had been killed, over 300 people massacred in your country, You people in Nigeria, yes, you have...
Doesn't want to accuse his political allies, and they just want to pacify the people and want to deny the truth. Because coming out to say that yes, it was done by jihadist groups, that means that your vice president, who is a jihadist group president, is being accused, and therefore the government is part of it. The vice president is... Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the technicians are definitely working on that. And can you hear me, Dr. Julius?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. And Dr. Julius, the question I was going to ask you with regards to what Mr. Tulu highlighted: weak institutions, weak government, weak regional organizations. We have the ECOWAS, the CEMAC. We have most especially the African Union, which Africans were looking up to as a defensive war. We're looking at the African Union in the midst of all of this aspect of terrorism. The African Union, of course, is weak. We've highlighted the aspect is being funded by the West. Dr. Matsanga adequately highlighted those aspects. We have these weak institutions now surrounding all of this. What do you think we can do? What else can be done? The African Union was an institution that everyone was looking up to, but then it's not living up to standards.
Be an advocate for the African Union. The African Union has fallen short of its own ambitions, yes, but it has not failed irredeemably. It can be redeemed. It created remarkable normative framework, from silencing the guns to the African standby force, where it has struggled in speed, financing, and political unity. The answer is not to bypass the African Union at this time, but to fund it properly, empower it legally, and to hold it accountably to citizens, not just to the heads of states. What I mean is, we need structural reprogramming, re-engineering of the African Union to be strong and robust, similar to other geopolitical groups. We can invite ourselves, those of us who are scholars in such field of thinking and work, to conduct comparative studies and to propose. We look at the model in the Asia Minor. We look at the European Union. We look at NAFTA in America. We look at other geo-economic and political platforms, and we try to see how we can restructure the AU to make it more open to other citizens, not just the head of states, because the head of states sitting there, they are like the council of the cocks or the court of the cocks, where the cockroach can never have a case. Thank you very much.
Comrade Blues, we can't hear you again now.
Can you get me now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Now, Dr. Matsanga, I was asking with regards to the fact that the African continent not being able to speak in one voice makes it, not having that bargaining power on the international stage. That's why Mr. Tulu highlighted African going to attend, as a continent going to attend summits in France, in the US, in Russia, and all the rest. And we have such institutions which many believed or were looking up to in the fight against terrorism. Now, like you highlighted, the African Union is funded from outside, but then it's still in place. What do you think can be done? What can we do to make the African Union more, more active and to live up to its expectation?
Oh, my brothers, let me remove the glasses, then tell you exactly the story. Taka, perhaps you have been away for too long. Things have changed. I am quoting Obierika, telling Okonko, page 53 of Things Fall Apart. Perhaps you have been away. Tulu, you are from that region. You will understand. African Union collapsed a long time ago when Dlamini Zuma was there. After Dlamini Zuma, it went to a tall guy, 6.1 feet, Fulani man from Chad. Yeah, called Mahamat Faki. Useless. Very useless. Useless. You remember the man Jean Ping from Gabon, who stopped the plane that was going to evacuate Gaddafi. Remember? Worked with the French intelligence. I've got all the data, all the telephone calls, hard telephone call from Sarkozy to Jean Ping, that brown guy from Gabon, who lacks legitimacy because of his color, and there's so many other things. You know, look, he killed Gaddafi. He stopped the plane. He called the plane of 5 presidents to stop in Bamako. France went ahead under Resolution 1973, destroyed. That's African Union for you. Killed Libya. The plane, if it had arrived in Tripoli, it would have saved Gaddafi and the war would have ended. But Jean Ping worked. AU chairperson himself, Jean Ping. There is evidence. These are not hearsay. Jean Ping worked with the French Sarkozy. And that's the evidence I put in court in Paris, which the chief prosecutor of the French said, Doc, you are a hero. Thank you. We pinned it. That's why we are going to ask for 15 years. We gave him 5. Now we are asking for 15 years for Sarkozy to be in prison for 15 years. Because he has challenged our brains. Now, look at what happened. African Union died long time ago. We get that Mahamat Faki. We now get another one again. Can you listen to me? This is a saga. We get a French mole again from Djibouti. Do you even hear Mr. Taka, Dr. Taka, with due respect, a scholar like you? Do you even know who the chairperson of African Union is? Can you pronounce his name? You don't know. This guy is dwarfed, is manufactured, is got used by the French. It's used by the French. You are Googling in order to know. I will tell you it's called Mohammed Yusuf Mohammed from Djibouti. Don't Google. I am a dictionary here. Look, this is the most useless man ever led African Union. You see how many conflicts have taken place? See how many of them have manufactured since he came to power? Nothing. See how many he does double standards? He says, Cameroon, good elections. Then later on says, bad elections. Then you say, this one, bad election, good election. Now, is that the African Union you want? The last thing that I saw in ECOWAS was when ECOWAS removed Yaya Jammeh. Show me one other thing ECOWAS has done successfully. Show me. You're an expert from West Africa. Show me. I'm an international scholar like you. One thing that ECOWAS has successfully done, it was that last coup of removing, and they couldn't remove because I had to take a radio to mobilize the people. Myself, my satellite radio is the one that removed Yaya Jammeh and placed in You know whom I placed in? I placed in Adama Barrow, the watchman from London. You know, that guy was a watchman, a gatekeeper whom we used to give a few coins here. For you know, he's my friend. Look at this. What African ECOWAS have failed. SADC have failed. East African Community have failed. In DRC Congo, we are now looking at Qatar. You know, Qatar starts doing something, then you say, aha, you come. We support you.
So, Doctor, what is the way forward? What is the way forward? Are we going to stay like this for life?
No, we are not.
Well, let us get the way forward because
I am now bringing
a lot of the failures.
Yes,
but I am an action-oriented, policy-oriented fellow. Let us look at what we can do.
What we can do is this, is to get rid of African Union. The head, the fish starts rotting from the head, not from the tail. African heads of state should stop going to meetings in one room, cubicle, when they have big mansions of state house. Why should you be called to Turkey and you cramp in one small boardroom, yet you have a big house at home? Why should you be called to Washington, D.C., and Trump insults you in front of the world? Why do you go there? African Union must call back. We have AU. Why did we select African Union chairperson? We wanted one person to call the President Trump to African Union headquarters. A 3-day summit with all African heads of state flying to Addis Ababa. And they can give their views. They can come with their papers and say, here we are. I need 10 hospitals. I need 3 roads. I need this. I need that. All these powers come. If we want to achieve a real Pan-African version of African of Nkrumah and Nyerere and Patrice Lumumba, we need to utilize the African Union headquarters, and not to be utilized, but we utilize our headquarters to expand our scope. We are now being used by France to attack some countries, to condemn some countries. Can you tell the world why today Libya has 2 governments? Did you know that? There's a government in Benghazi and there's a government in Tripoli. Hello?
Yeah.
So what do we do here? We have a problem. We have a big problem here. France has cut Libya in 2 too. And you people are here. I tell you, I was in this country, Mali. Ladies and gentlemen, what I saw, what I've gathered is enough to say there is no need of a Security Council. It's nothing. It's a pure conspiracy against these smaller states that are fighting. That's why you see, at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, to go back to your question, is the guy still there or he has technically fallen out?
No,
is he listening? Hello?
Yes, you mean Dr. Tucker?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. That is the situation, my brother in Yaoundé. The situation is as bad as that. The only way to bring back this situation to normal is to have a political solution for a country of 250 million people. The political solution is very clear. Tolu is in Abuja. That's why he cannot speak openly. But he has a mind similar to Dr. Matsanga. Thank you, Tolu. Your mind is mine. Yours is mine and mine is yours. We have the same. You are not saying it. This Nigeria needs to be rearranged. You see, people fear. Matsanga, I don't fear. Rearrange Nigeria. You expired a long time ago. That's why you are causing us problems in Africa. That's why you are causing us problems in Africa. Captain Lugard put you together. You rearrange yourself. The agreement expired. You are an international scholar yourself. Taka, do you know that you are being traded in stock exchange in London as a company? Did you know that? And you have never gone to court to challenge why someone has put your nation trading and getting stock exchange fluctuation money out of your country name called Nigeria. Rearrange it. It doesn't mean you break. You can rearrange. Leave the people. If the marriage is not good, Dr. Julius, it can never be good. If your wife is putting you in a bedroom, in a sitting room instead of the bedroom where God said you will not until God takes us apart, did you still continue to stay there? That's where the problem of where West Africa is coming from. Let's speak the truth. If Nigeria was arranged well and had administrative credentials, not terrorists in government like the way we have terrorists. Shatima is a terrorist. He has never told us whether he has renounced terrorism or not. Let's speak out to our mind for people who cannot speak in Nigeria. Hello? 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 This is a terrorist vice president attached there by Boko Haram. He sympathizes with Boko Haram. Then he Christians are being killed. Then you come around and say, America should not come. Come with big force, man. Wipe up these tomahawks. Send them to particular Boko Haram. Let's disorganize that cell of Boko Haram that is killing our people. Every African dying, whether Nigerian, whether Cameroonian, whether Somali, pains me. We should stand firm. And we are not going to bicker about the bush horse and say here we are Pan-African. Pan-African, where are we Pan-African? When one leg is bleeding, where's the Pan-Africanism here? One leg is bleeding. People are bleeding. That younger man from Abuja is telling you, Tolu, is saying he is not very happy because the president, when 300 people of your people are killed, the president comes with a voice, Mr. President. What type of presidency is this in Africa? And you tell me that there is a president in America, in Nigeria. Which president? This is a wrong guy in a wrong place. He's just amassing wealth and adding on. Maybe he wants to buy the whole Lagos. That's the president. You tell me he's a president? He's not. He has no clue of what is happening in Ambia State, in Anambra State, in Enugu, in Onitsha. People are dying there. People are being killed in Plateau, Benue State. Christians are being maimed. Let's be honest. Moderate Christians, the Muslims are also being killed by men who were armed by Buhari. Why are you not talking the truth? Where did these jihadists with long knives come from? 4 years ago, allow me 1 minute. 4 years ago, there were 1.3 million swords captured at the port at Lagos by customs. You remember that? You remember that consignment of these swords, long swords? You are importing. Who is importing these swords? Going where? Are they not the ones killing people today? Somebody has armed these people to kill people. And therefore the states cannot be the same. The states of the South, who are mainly farmers, Christians, and the Muslims, moderate, they come to a moderate Muslim farm. If you don't speak much, they kill you. So what did you mean? You want us to allow that state to operate like that? No. Let's rearrange Nigeria. Like I've said in conclusion, if you don't rearrange Congo, you are wasting your time. And can I repeat that? Rearrange. Even Babangida told you, Nigeria needs rearrangement. From 1914 to today, it's a long time. Dr. Julius, you don't know that you up to now, when you are seated there, a schooler with all these academic papers like mine, the way you are younger, but I'm older. You don't know that Nigeria is trading as a stock exchange by Captain Lugard in London. Dangote does not know that. He knows, but he can't change. He can't start to change the status quo. He knows. He goes to borrow money. You say Dangote has built a factory. Which factory? From money from where? Was it his money? He borrowed the money from the US. So if the US wanted to stop his borrowing, they would have stopped. So your argument of saying they want to destroy Nigeria because of the refinery, they would have stopped the money. Does Dangote advertise on African TV? Show me one African TV advertising cement of Dangote. It is CNN. Julius, did you know that? Dangote's products are advertised on CNN. Is CNN your television? How many adverts has Dangote given News Central? How many? If we gave News Central those adverts, how many Africans will be very happy? So we have a problem. Even in Dangote, we don't have anything in our hands. African Development Bank is the name. Brother, if you didn't know. But the shareholders of African Development Bank, 95% are Americans. So where is African Development Bank? It's the name. So coming back, AU is just a name. It has nothing to offer. And I'm telling you, with the new money there, we are finished. I don't think AU can move an inch beyond its level where it is. We are done. Look at Sudan. Oh, this is a Pan-African organization. A debate. Look at Sudan. It's burning. It's burning. Sudan is gone. Julius, nobody is talking about Sudan. How many people have died? How many people have died in Sudan? I'm the only one here with this gentleman here. When he puts the program, we talk about Sudan. How many AU heads of state are talking about Sudan every day? Because of the interest of the foreigners. So, in a nutshell, I agree with you people. Nigeria still remains the hotbed of all the difficulties that West Africa is receiving at the moment. 2, Nigeria must be rearranged. And that's the agenda. You younger people, don't miss your words. You need to live in an environment where you live with a neighbor who is not coming with guns to shoot you and take your food, eat your food, defile your children, rape your women rape your daughters in front of you. Where are they coming from? Are they coming from planet Venus? Are they coming from planet Venus? No, Julius, answer me. Are they coming from planet Venus? The people maiming people in the plateau in Benue State, are they coming from where? The people killing people in Odwa, in Ambia, in Anambra, in Emo State, those areas there, which other area is being affected in Bono State? These are the people we know who have been armed, and the vice president is their representative. And you want to come and tell the world the truth. Let's tell the truth. Let Trump sort it out. If he can sort even that vice president, that's okay. Sort them out. Tomahawk, let it enter his house if he's a terrorist. Yeah, I wish one of it just diverted to go for Shatima, because he's killed people. I'm sorry. I'm not God. I don't want to tell people to, but it is bad. What is happening in Nigeria, a country that we all, if you cough, the whole Africa catches cough. Did you know that? That's why God gave you the population.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Matsanga. While we continue to hope that the there's a restructuring of the African Union, we continue to hold it accountable. Why not? We are still hoping probably something good can still come out of the African Union, if at all. But then, Mr. Tulu, why are we hoping on the African Union to restructure we equally asking the question, what will it take, or what will it be, or what can or how can the African Union or the ECOWAS, counter terrorism without waiting for Washington, without waiting for Paris, or without waiting for Moscow? What do you think can be done, and how can they approach this fight against terrorism on the African continent, particularly Sahel? Of course, we're looking at Nigeria as well.
Okay, thank you very much. So when I look at the problem of terrorism and insecurity today, a part of it is economic, and that would mean that the lots of the people, their standards of living have to be improved upon, and the individuals amongst them who have the extreme ideology also need to be weeded out, like Dr. Julius Tucker and Dr. Matsanga has earlier highlighted. Some of the influencers of terrorism and insecurity in Nigeria are within the government. I recall that President Goodluck Jonathan, the president from 2010 to 2015, had stated that there were sympathizers of the terrorist group Boko Haram within his government, and even within the Buhari administration, there were those within those administrations that were seen as being sympathetic or supporting insecurity, as the case may be. So first of all, these individuals needs to be weeded off. And Dr. Julius Tucker had highlighted earlier that maybe one of the reasons the Tinubu administration has not been as hard on insecurity as they should be is because the president does not want to offend some of his supporters who may be sympathetic to these causes. And these are not speculations that started today. So in solving the problem, you need to have the political will heads on. You need to tackle it heads on. And when you look at the government today, do they have that political will? If it's absent, there's nothing that will be done. Because we've seen instances where politicians, political parties only focus on the next election rather than on improving the standards of living of the people. So the problem starts from even the way leaders are elected within Nigeria. An average person can't just win an election in Nigeria. You need the support of widespread support of a lot of people. You need to have the money. You need to have the pool. You need to appeal to, different sections of the country. And that in itself may be a challenge, because until you are your own man, until you are independent, you may not be able to do the will of majority of people, because the few powerful elites that put you there will be dictating the tone. And even if you look at within states within Nigeria, within the last 8 years, I've seen states that, a governor won election by his own mandate. And I saw the impact and the influence of the administration on the people. And those that have godfathers or those that have influences, they are not able to do the best for the people. And at the national level, it's still the same problem. The way we elect our leaders today in Nigeria in itself is not perfect. It's far from perfect. The last election won by President Tinubu, he won with less than 40% of the total votes cast. So it's not even accepted by majority of Nigerians, and he won't consolidate power in 2027. So the political will to go after, people that may be sympathetic to bandits and terrorists may not be 100% there. And that in itself is the challenge. Until that is addressed, until that political will, until the government is willing to, read out all these terrorists, there will be a problem. I know General Sani Abacha, the former head of state of Nigeria, says when there is political when there's unrest or instability in any place for more than 24, 48 hours, the government is compromised. I can tell you today that if the Nigerian government wants to rid of insecurity, they want to weed out these promoters of violence. They know them. They can do the job. The will is not just there. I've seen instances where security forces are going after someone who is considered a threat to the government in itself, and they do their job effectively. And because I would say this is not priority for the government, or rather, the priority is staying in power beyond 2027 and consolidating their base. They may not want to strongly address insecurity. And when I dig further to look at the root of insecurity, almost everywhere in the world, as Professor Amartya Sen has said, development and freedom cannot be, separated from economic power and, economic improvement in lives of people. You look at northern Nigeria, over the years, it's been one of the regions within Nigeria with poor human rights indices, low level of literacy and education, lack of opportunities, for employment, lack of food, water supply. Those challenges are always there. So because of these problems that I've highlighted, it's always easier to recruit people to come and fight a cause, as the case may be. Say Boko Haram, Western education is the same. Because of the ignorance of people, because of the hunger of people, it's easy to recruit young men, young women into, into those platforms that lead to them being used by forces for insecurity. So until the economic situation is addressed, I feel it will be easier to, tap you to use them for violence within the society, as the case may be. Someone like me, or you may be people of my educational status and, the level I'm in today. You can't, what do you want to give me to entice me to carry a gun and hurt my fellow man? I have a lot to lose. But we have a lot of young Nigerians especially within northern Nigeria, southeast. It's spread across Nigeria. The unemployment is massive, and these are tools that can be used by external and internal parties that are sympathetic to terrorists or that have their own selfish gain to attack the people. So, in conclusion, my response is in twofold. You need the political will from the government to address insecurity. You also need the economic situation to, be improved upon. And when I go ahead to look at the regional government, ECOWAS and AU, have they really, benefited the people in recent years? When I look at Economic Community of West African States, it's supposed to be modeled like the European Union, where there is common currency, free movement, exchange of goods and services. But across the continent or across West Africa, as the case may be, there's still a lot in terms of technology dependence on the West, low level of productivity, government instability. Some of the states within the West African region are today controlled by the military. So there is that lack of synchronization even amongst member states. And for ECOWAS to achieve anything, there's a saying that united we stand, divided we fall. If the sum parts of the total are not good enough, you don't expect the total to suddenly be different. So until each of the government within those states in West Africa live up to expectation and take it upon themselves to address the problems of insecurity, economics, and the likes, this challenge will continue to persist, even to the African Union. Today, I would say African Union is just a union in name. There's lack of union, as the case may be. For instance, someone in Nigeria today cannot wake up and say, oh, he wants to travel South Africa or Egypt without having a visa. What is the essence of a union if there's no free movement of people, goods, and services? So it's just on paper that it's a union today. It's not really doing the job of, bringing states together to achieve improved standard of living, promotion of human rights, or even improve economic growth. So as a person, and I think a lot of people will share this sentiment, I don't really have so much faith in ECOWAS and AU as it is today. I think it's just a relic of the past, and the organization today is just modeled after what they have within maybe the European Union, within other regions. So it's not effective. That's my submission. Thank you.
That was clear. We got you very well. Now let's talk with you, Dr. Taka. Well, aside ECOWAS and the African Union, we've seen countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger moving away from the traditional Western allies and turning to private military, organization in the fight against terrorism. Do you see this as a path to sovereignty or probably a risky gamble?
I think it's a path to sovereignty, and I want to clarify a little doubt here. A lot of people say that I'm from Jos, from Nigeria, and I even had some Cameroonians to attack me on some forums that you are not a Cameroonian, you are from Jos, Nigeria. Maybe I have to go down and conduct a genealogy study to see whether I came from Nigeria. Well, I'm a Cameroonian 100%. And I don't doubt Dr. David Matsanga to really align me with Nigeria. But I think Nigerians are our closest neighbors, and Africans are not supposed to be segmented the way we are. This division in Africa was done by the colonial masters in order to divide us and to conquer us. I think we are all Africans, and we are here for the Pan-African debate. And I think that what we should discuss today is something that encompasses Africa in general. What would be good for Africa? Not what would be good for Nigeria or what would be good for Uganda or what would be good for Cameroon. Because as a Pan-African, I'm looking at what will make Africa more dependent. And going back to your question, Mr. Lewis, what is happening in the Sahel, I think it is a good move if personal interest and greed doesn't come in to take away the steam and to destroy the desires that they do have. I am not in support of democracy in terms of looking for leaders. I think before the colonial masters came to Africa, we had a pathway for designating our leaders, and it came from the community. Because democracy or democratic elections since post-colonialization had not given us good leaders. Some of the few leaders that we had in Muammar Gaddafi did not come to power really by elections. So democracy or democratic elections is not a pathway to getting a real leader. So what people call the juntas are doing now, I think if they have the interest of the people at heart and they do the things that they're supposed to do for their people, for leadership should be servant leadership. Leadership should not be this cohesive leadership that we find in African countries where it is by force, my way or the only way, where the government collude and become gangsters and steal and render the country so poor, and they are very, very autocratic. And some governments in Africa are terrorists. They terrorized the citizens. And these governments were democratically elected into power. So I don't really care how a leader comes up. It is what the leader does for its people. And I can see movements in the Sahel that are trying to create an economic and political bloc. They are looking at getting a common currency, having a common bank, and trying to develop their countries. And I see European Union will come out and say that they don't accept those who came to power through other means other than elections. I want to say that these are colonial constructs that have been given to us in order to undermine our development. That I think Africa should do comparative and studies, but try to come out with an African model, a model that is suited for Africans and for Africa. And when I hear people talk about things that are not even well implemented in the West and in the United States, and they want to push it to happen in the African continent, which we have a different cultural background and we have different belief systems, it really baffles me, because I did not only study political science, I studied public administrations, I did a lot of comparative studies, I studied theology, I studied Christian organizational leadership. And what I came to realize was that the model of leadership that is the best in the world is what Jesus Christ showed to us. Jesus Christ did not go to any Harvard. He's not the holder of a PhD. He did not have any army. He did not have sophisticated intelligence system. He did not have the weapons that we want to seek from the West to come and destroy Boko Haram. But he had what was in him, leadership through example and putting your life out there for the interest of people. And I think that if Africa can have 7 leaders in government where they will show that they feel for the terrorist, because who is first of all a terrorist? How does somebody belong into a terrorist cell? We know that there are other greedy, authorial causes of terrorism, but in every civil unrest, there is the absence of the government to take care of the basic needs of a citizen. Like our brother Adeyefa said, it would take days and years to convert him into a jihadist because he is educated and exposed and he has a vision and hope. When hope is lost, despair comes in. So our leaders should go back into the scriptures or into our African cosmology, because in our African religion, there is the need to take care of the community. In our African rituals, all our rituals ends with celebrations. We sacrifice animals. We give the blood to the ancestors. And what happened to the flesh? The community eats that, and all is shared. Sword goes round. This is collective living, where it is not one great king that has it all, that's squeezed to amass everything. Our king used to not own nothing, but he has his people, and his people will bring things to him, and he will turn around and share them to those who doesn't have. I'm saying this to say that our leaders should be conscious. Their consciences should think about the interests of the downtrodden, those suffer, and if they provide the basic goods like clean pipe and water to everybody, if they provide electricity to every household and to every street, then I think it will reduce terrorism. And when external forces and internal political demagogues want to destabilize the country, the people will say, no, we are having it good. Although in extreme cases, when external manipulations use internal dissenters, like what happened in Libya, is an extreme case. Libya was doing quite well. But the West, because they needed to destroy Libya, had to do what they could do in order to spur in a revolution, and brought outside 2,000 men that were not in the country to come in and mix with contractors from both countries that were interested in destroying Libya to do what they did. But in countries where they don't have those external militia that could come in, if the government decides to, let's take Nigeria as an example. I wrote my thesis, a comparative analysis of anti-corruption politics in Sub-Sahara, and Nigeria one of them. So I know Nigeria a little bit by that research. If Nigeria can, if the federal government can decide that we want to change a leadership mindset, and the government spend money in training and education of governors to council chairmen, that leadership is for the interest of the suffering. That a leader is that one that washes the feet of the disciple. When Christ washed the feet of the disciples, they were flabbergasted, and they asked questions. He told them that he amongst you that want to be the greatest must be the servant. So if our leaders become servants of the community, they become servants of their people. Their people will love them, and their people will throw away the knives and guns. But because our leader has shown to be so greedy, our leaders have decided to create some kind of shield around them, that to break through, you have to get involved into some kind of issues in order to be recognized within the government. That pushes the people into a point where they have been pushed to the sea. And when you push somebody to the sea, they will have to react. Our leaders are so greedy that one of them wants to own 50 cars, houses in all countries in the world, but they drive along the street and they see that suffering mother, suffering with a child behind, frying puff puff under the sun and selling, but they continue to drive and they continue to loot and steal the people's money. It's because they don't have the conscience of good leaders. They are wicked and they shall pay in heaven. I rest my case.
Much, Dr. Takami, got you. And we talk with you, Dr. Matsanga. Now, between security and sovereignty, which comes first for Africa right now? What do you think should come first for Africa? Sovereignty or security? I think we will concluding just soon. Maybe that probably will be your last intervention on the program, Dr. Matsanga. Security and sovereignty, which do you think Africa needs right now?
Africa needs both sovereignty and security.
Okay.
I am sorry. I was thinking Taka was from Nigeria. That's why I came heavy on you. But Taka, I want you on a debate of Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons, which I know very well. I also did papers on those. One day, bring us back. I am the lawyer, the lead lawyer, international lawyer for the Nera 10, who are suffering down there in the Yaoundé prison. This is the guy. And I have no regrets. I will get them free one day. So don't worry about that. But I'm sorry to have fixed you thinking you are from this terrible state called Nigeria that has caused us all the misery that we have on African continent. Security and sovereignty go hand in hand. If you have none, one of them missing, then you are not a nation. And that is what Nigeria is. Nigeria is a country without a country and a state without a state. Taka knows that. I think I've become very philosophical today. A country without a country, a state without a state. It means it is zero. It's broken. It's gone. It's gone. So it has spread all these terrible things across the Sahara region. It has spread. You know, one finger oils the others. You know, the Fulani community is like the Kurds. My brother there has studied international comparative politics. The Kurdistan theory in Europe, Turkey, Iraq. You see? Turkey, Iraq, Syria. Have you seen Kurdistan issue? Greece, the Kurdistans. So the Fulani issue around that region, Lake Chad, Cameroon, Niger, up there, all the way through Burkina Faso, all the way from Mali, all that, it has brought there's a problem there. And Nigeria became a breeding point, a hot point, a building point for all this spread. When they allowed Boko Haram to come into their midst and allowed them to operate in the northeastern part of Maiduguri area and the Borno states and other states there, they caused the whole problem that we see. They lost their sovereignty. They lost their security. So Julius and the other brothers, please look at this situation under Tolu. I want to summarize what has happened here. Today, the people of that region, headed by Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, have done a great job under the military governments. Let's speak the truth. There are civilian governments that are worse than the military, but they only wear the thing called democracy. They elected democratically. Allah. 94 million Nigerians registered to vote. Only 26 million voted for Tinubu. Can somebody who did mathematics like a Julius Tucker, who's good at data, tell me where the others went? They went to India, Atlantic Ocean hiding under, now they came back. So is that an election? Tolu said 40%. It was less than even 40% of the vote. 68 million people in Nigeria did not vote in the last general election that brought Mr. Tinubu to power. I was in Abuja and I was very dismayed. I just walked out. I said, I cannot put a hand on a report that is fake, that will say the elections were free and fair. So let me summarize by saying this. For peace to return in that region, Nigeria must be rearranged. That's point number one. And that being a big country in Africa with problems, more countries in Africa will be affected. And more countries in the region will be affected. Therefore, rearrangement of Nigeria by allowing a new version of leadership of countries emerging. If countries are going to emerge, they will emerge soon. Because you cannot hold them anymore. Things are so bad. Look at the younger man there, Toro. He's telling you that, no. He's educated with master's degree, 2 of them. He has nothing to do. He has nothing to do. If Elon Musk had not brought this internet, what would people in Nigeria be doing? They would be want to kill yourself while you went to school for 10 years. So there's something wrong with this state, this country called Nigeria. So we must rearrange it. It has to be rearranged. I have emphasized my point that rearrangement is necessary. And I told you, in rearrangement, diversity, who tells you that if you have so many countries, you cannot be united in Pan-Africanism? Who tells you? Who? Diversity does not mean this separation. Diverse, you can't sit in a place where you cannot sit.
Well, Dr. Matsanga, your volume went out. I don't know if we're not getting your feedback from here. Dr. Matsanga, can you hear me? Dr. Matsanga, can you get the feedback from the studio here?
Comrade Luis, we can hear you.
Okay. Probably we lost contact with Dr.
I think.
Yeah, all right. While waiting for Dr. Matsanga probably to reconnect, Mr. Tulu, let's talk with you now. What do you think is going to happen? Is chaos going to continue spreading now that we've seen the African Union losing credibility and the regional organizations such as the ECOWAS probably are not very active? What do you foresee could be the long-term implications of the silence of the African Union and the inactive position probably being taken by the ECOWAS?
So can you hear me? Okay. So for me, the long-term implication is that things have to find a way to get to equilibrium one way or the other. So either we see the African Union and ECOWAS continually lose, credibility and influence while shrinking to, a caricature of what it used to be on the continent, or maybe there'll be some sort of tectonic shift whereby it rises up and intervenes within the affairs on the continent. I recall that growing up, I heard the stories of ECOMOG, that's the ECOWAS monitoring group, going to the likes of Liberia, Sierra Leone to, restore peace in those areas. But unfortunately, today, even Nigeria, that provides the bulk of soldiers to help in, restoring stability, is facing its own problems. So past performance is not a guarantee of continued future occurrence. So for me, I think something has to give. Eventually, either people fight back, people that are victims of insecurity today fight back and, find a way to take over the government, or at some point there will be instability that will make everything explode, and the rearrangement that Dr. David Matsanga is talking about may come to be. But the fact is, we can't continue like this. We can't continue in this trend. Insecurity has, caused a lot of devastating effects. People are losing their lives, family members. I mean, sometimes I go on social media and see people talk about how they were able to just escape being the only family member while they've lost all their friends and family to insecurity in some places. And this cannot continue. So either the African Union, ECOWAS, the Nigerian government itself lives up to its ability, or we get to a situation where you have the Libya experience, which I pray does not happen, where there is a central government in the capital, while there are militants and lords across the countries. I pray we don't get to that, and I pray that the government lives up to its duty. But as it is today, the current policy of the government, which is a bit lackadaisical, in my opinion, cannot continue. They need to get ahead of the problem. The president needs to come out and reassure the people that everything is fine, that is on top of the situation. His body language towards this problem, it's a problem on its own. And when I look at even the threat by US intervention in Nigeria, the fact that Nigeria has not had an ambassador to most of these countries in the last 2 years since the Tinubu administration took over power also implies that they necessarily do not have a cohesive foreign policy plan, because your ambassador is supposed to be driving engagement with different nations on your behalf. And when that is absent, there is some sort of disarray going on, and that is what we can see even within Nigerian context today. But overall, something has to give. Either ECOWAS and AU start living up to its responsibility, or they fizzle out while there's another, organization or rearrangement in its place. That's my submission. Thank you.
Mr. Tulu, and let's briefly hear from Dr. Julius before we conclude with you, Dr. Matsanga. Now, Dr. Julius, do you think the African Union can realistically build a continental force that the citizens can believe and trust in the fight against insecurity? Probably briefly as we're rounding up.
Will I have another opportunity to have a close remark, or this is a close remark?
Hope so.
Okay, the straight answer is no. As far as the African Union is organized and structured at this point, I think it doesn't have the teeth that can be able to execute anything within that continent at this time. Straight answer is no, until it is revamped, it is restructured, and it is given the adequate funding and the legal powers and the political will. It cannot do anything. It is a bulldog without teeth. Thank you.
He has gone again.
Can the AU realistically build a continental force that the citizens can trust and believe in the support or in the fight against terrorism on the African continent, Doctor?
No. The answer is no. And no. And no. Until we reform African Union. Until we remove it from the capture of the French. Until we own it, until we have our own money, which we can collect on African continent without relying on foreign donors. Until we clean Nigeria. Until we rearrange Nigeria and look at the 1914 agreement, which has expired a long time ago. You cannot rule people by force, by pretense, and bring them in one house until we get our act together. That the oil that comes from the south, pumped, which they want to pump over their heads into France, has to help the people in the southeast and the rest of Nigeria, if well used. Until we realize those, until we stop corruption in all African countries, until we focus on African solutions for Africa itself, until again we get rid of people who cannot even have mercy on their own citizens when they have been killed. Look at what Tinubu expressed during the 300 people massacre of Christians. They were killed. He never said anything. He just kept quiet. The body language talked as Usoro has said. For me, African Union died. It is in a waiting for a funeral service by you and the rest of all of us. Let's just go for prayer in the mosque or in the church and bury the African Union we know and create a better African Union with reforms that Kenya is leading in reforms. And the last word on, as I depart on Tanzania, I am down here simply because I have had a lot of things. The ICC cannot intervene in Tanzania. I don't know whether you are hearing me or not.
We can get you, Doctor.
The ICC cannot intervene under Article 17 in Tanzania. That's fallacy. It cannot. Tanzania has handled itself very well, and it is put a commission of inquiry. It is high time the West kept off Tanzania and stood away from it to handle its problems internally. Thank you. And I want to tell the people of my people, great people of Southeast, that I've not forgotten you. I am struggling here for you. I am in Amsterdam on my way to The Hague. Very soon, you will be very happy people.
Comrade Liz, we can't hear you. Okay, sorry, I can't hear you. I can't hear what Comrade Liz is saying.
Yes, can you get me now, Mr. Tulu?
Okay, I can hear you now. Sorry, what's your question?
All right, no, Mr. Tulu, we are concluding. I'm just appreciating your time on the program. I don't know if you had something else to say, but then I'm just saying thank you very much for accepting the invitation, for being part of the program this afternoon, Mr. Tulu.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here, dissecting the issue and talking about approach to solving the current challenges we are facing. In my conclusion, it's been the same message from the beginning. African government, the African people, they need to take their destiny into their hands and, address any challenge that comes our way, because foreign intervention can only support if their interest aligns with ours, but we are the ones, facing the brunt of the problem. So we need to take the bull by the horn and solve our problems ourselves. Thank you. I think so.
Dr. Julius, can you get me from here? Dr. Julius?
Yes.
Yeah. We want to equally appreciate you for being part of the program. You are a political scientist and media consultant. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for being on the program this afternoon.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Luis, and I am very happy to have met Dr. David on this platform. He is a powerhouse and is somebody that is worthy knowing and networking with. For the net worth of everybody is what is within his network. So in closing, let me leave us with a question that sits at the heart of today's debate. Can a country be sovereign without security? The answer is a big no. Big no. Security is a foundation upon which sovereignty stands, and without it, nations become vulnerable. Vulnerable to extremism, vulnerable to foreign manipulation, vulnerable to internal fragmentation. But security is not only about weapons, drones, and borders. Security begins governance. It begins with leaders who serve the people, not themselves. If Africa is to win the war against terrorism, then our governments must consciously and intentionally embrace good governance grounded in the principle of servant leadership. Leadership that listens, leadership that protects, leadership that puts citizens first. A nation is only as strong as the trust between its government and its people. Foreign partners can assist us, but they cannot substitute the moral compass that we need and coordinate our regional security frameworks. Then, if that happens, then Africa will not only defend its sovereignty, it will defend its own security. And in doing so, Africa will send a clear message to the world. This continent is no longer a battlefield for global powers, but a continent capable of leading us to its own destiny. So Africans must solve African problems with African solutions. So I want to thank you very much, and I wish all of us a very happy weekend.
Thank you very much, and we're wishing you a very wonderful weekend as well. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Matsanga. Thank you, Mr. Tulu. Thank you, Dr. Julius. And thank you to all of you who are watching the program this afternoon. It's a wonderful pleasure to know that you're always tuning in. We invite you to stay to more programs on Afrique Media. African solutions to African problems is the wish of every African. And we'll be here again sometime to discuss more on what should shape the future of the African continent. Until then, stay with more programs on Afrique Media. Bye-bye for now.